This is the Business Storytelling Show with Christoph Trapp. Name a top 20 storytelling podcast and a top 5% podcast globally. Christoph chats with thought leaders and experts to share tips and tricks that can help you tell your company's stories better to drive business results. Available wherever you listen to podcasts, live streamed on major social media channels, and part of the DB&A television network. Available on most U.S. television sets and streaming on Roku and Amazon Fire. Here's Christoph with today's episode. Let's go.
Welcome. Christoph Trapp here. Bonus episode of the Business Storytelling Show. Really appreciate everyone tuning in. Hey, today we want to talk about Kindle Unlimited for authors. Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? Should we put our book on Kindle Unlimited? So from a user perspective, the reader perspective, Kindle Unlimited makes sense when you buy a lot of books. I've actually caught myself doing this more and more. I'm trying to be pickier on the books. Do I need this book? Is this a good book? Whatever. And when you have Kindle Unlimited, you don't have to buy the book. Basically, you pay one monthly fee of $11.99 currently. And you can read as many books as you want, as long as they are part of Kindle Unlimited, the Kindle Unlimited library. And that's up to each author to decide whether or not they want to put their book on Kindle Unlimited. So a couple things to think about. Number one, how much money will it actually make if that's the main goal of your book? Now, it's getting harder and harder to sell books and make money off them specifically. So maybe that's not your goal, even though we all like money, right? We want to make money. But maybe the goal is to use it as a marketing tool. For example, in the heydays of me speaking, flying around the globe and talking at conferences, I used my books as a marketing tool to establish myself as a thought leader in the field and basically got speaking gigs that way. So the revenue came from the speaking gigs, but not necessarily as much from the books, even though sometimes conferences would buy books. So that would actually help with revenue generation, right? You have a conference, buy 500 books or 1,000 books. That certainly is a revenue stream, and it's much easier to sell 500 books or 1,000 books to one person, right, the event planner, than it is to sell 500 books to 500 people. So from a sales perspective, that makes sense as well. Of course, speaking has become harder and harder, right? Many conferences are now littered with sponsored speaking slots. So in the past, they might pay a speaker to fill that slot. And today, a company pays the conference to fill that slot for themselves. So there's still keynote slots available, but of course, the fewer slots there are, the fewer opportunities there is for revenue if you try to make your revenue goals speaking. So the other thing I really like about the Kindle Unlimited offering for authors, however, is that you can do a countdown deal. And so you can offer your book for 99 cents or any, it's like there's different intervals. You can have the price go up, start at 99 cents, and then it goes up to $1.99, $2.99, $3.99, whatever it might be. And that's okay. I usually don't actually go up because, I don't know. I mean, I just leave it at 99 cents and just market it as, here's the current deal. And I don't tell you when exactly it runs out. I just tell you that it is a time-limited deal. So that's the main thing that I like about it. Now, from a revenue perspective, when I looked at the numbers here for a time period, so there was a total of almost $1,100 in book revenue on Amazon. And off that $1,100, it was like $12 was from Kindle Unlimited reading. So what's different about Kindle Unlimited reading from buying a traditional book is basically authors get paid out based on the number of pages read. So if somebody reads 10 pages in your book, you get paid for those 10 pages, whatever the current rate is. Now, the reader doesn't pay by page, they pay by month, right? So they pay that currently $11.99 per month. But on the author side of things, you get paid out by pages read. So in the past, somebody might buy my book for $9.99, and then whether or not they read it is up to them, right? But they bought it, so, which is probably why this is a good model, Kindle Unlimited, right, for the consumer, because you only pay, you don't have to buy all these books and then you don't read them because you don't like them. So if you don't like a book on Kindle Unlimited, it's still part of that monthly plan of $11.99, but you don't have to buy all those books. So you just return it, right? You just basically, you're done with it, and it is what it is. So from that perspective, it's a really good model for the consumer. Of course, for the authors, you have to make sure you create quality content that is relevant to those specific readers. So if it's not relevant, they're not going to read the book, and you're not going to get them to read the whole thing and get a bigger payout. So you really have to make sure your content is up to snuff, and people do want to read your book. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And not just want to read it, but actually do read it. So from a creator perspective, it's another step in the content performance journey here that everybody's taking, right? The high performers get rewarded through more revenue, through more reviews, through more reads, through all those different things. But if people don't read your book, there's not much revenue coming in, at least not through that channel. So something to think about. Overall, I still think Kindle Unlimited is a way to get your book in front of more people to begin with. I have always used the books as a marketing tool. So yes, it's nice to see that extra $1,100 in that time frame. Whatever time frame that was, I'm not even sure top of my head here, but in that time frame, it's nice to see that revenue. But when you think about how much that actually is in percentage to other business activities, it's also a good way to get in front of people, to share your message, and to to actually establish your own brand. So from that perspective, I think Kindle Unlimited is the way to go for most business books when the goal is to build a brand to drive other revenue streams. Now, the other trend I've seen is the trend of business books getting more expensive. So these books are never on Kindle Unlimited because they want you to buy the book, because that's how they're valuing it. So what I mean by that is the book might cost $80 or $90, or I've seen a lot of books that the price has gone up. And the reason, and I'm not talking about these Amazon scams, where somebody puts up an outrageous price for your book, and then when they sell a copy, they buy it from you, and then they turn around and sell it for the higher price. So I'm not talking about those, even though what an interesting model. I'm talking about the authors that have decided that their book is an educational piece and you can really learn something from it. And that's why they can charge that higher price. Now, I do think you can learn a lot from my books. Going live is very, very practical. Content performance culture is very practical. Is marketing a good career? Is a thought starter. It's practical at a different level because it's supposed to be for people who are deciding whether or not they want a career in marketing. So, it's like it's helping you make a decision. So it's not like it doesn't dive into how to set up a content performance team like content performance culture does, for example. But the point is that some of those books are getting more and more expensive because they are a resource. So if you pay $100 for a book and it helps you get on the track for your next million, I mean, that's an unbelievable investment, right? So those books should be more expensive. The trick is, of course, to figure out if your audience will agree with you that your book fits that definition. Is it truly an educational resource that will help me drive my business results? So something to think about, if your audience will agree with you. So with that in mind, the book probably needs to go deeper into some topics. It probably needs to share things at a different level, like, I mean, if you think about content performance culture, there's a lot of stuff in there, but you can probably break out some of the chapters into their own books, right? I mean, like, what roles do you need? How do you hire for them? I mean, that could be its own book, quite frankly. Or a master class even, or something like that. So it's just something to keep in mind. What's the goal of your book? How do you get it in front of the right people? How do you get it in front of the most people? And then what are you trying to get out of it? So Kindle Unlimited for authors, definitely worth it in many scenarios. And as a consumer, if you read a lot on Amazon, definitely worth it as well. I'm Christoph Trapp, ChristopHTrapp.com. Thanks for joining me for this bonus episode of the Business Storytelling Show.
That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in. Please rate and review our show on your favorite podcast channels. And don't forget to share this episode with your networks. We appreciate you. Until next time, let the best stories win.